Okay, here we go with another Jungle Jargon video. I will be addressing a few responses. So let me just go ahead and present here. And let me see what's going on. Let's see what's going on here. These are typical responses that I get. We have one here. It's about DNA. So we have a number of responses I had. Okay, the descendants of all three sons of Noah are accounted for A, B, C, D, and E of Ham, F, G, H, I, J of Shem, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T of the descendants of Japheth. Okay, talking about haplogroups, yes. Question mark, what? So Hamites are the oldest sons of Noah. Okay. Hamites are the oldest son of Noah and not Shem and Japheth. Let's then change the Bible to suit science then, which is a very good point to make. So my response is, you are right. Hamites are the youngest lineages. The scientists need to study ancient human history before trying to do science. As I've said many times before. Here we go. Another one, yes, haplogroups. Okay, then I get an objection here. Genuinely speaking, all of the three sons of Noah are and will be in Africa. If haplogroup is anything to follow, FYI, between A to E haplogroups found in Africa, there's a big diverse gap that separate example, okay, going to the A01 and from the Yorubas like night and day, the Nilotes and the Yorubas and Pygmies and the language and their maternal DNA are completely different, except all the maternal DNA in Africa is L. It's L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So how Europeans lumped African as one remains a mystery. So there's a big explanation of how diverse Africa is, which is true. They're diverse among Africans, but not as diverse. These diversions, these separations and differences are because of the haplogroups. The A and the B are like the B are the pygmies, and then of course there's other ones or other haplogroups or other people like well, they got the Nilotes and the Yorubas and the other ones that were considered to be the oldest. Okay, from CT you get two branches of humans, one exiting Africa as Eurasians, and then EM2. So who's lying to who? Okay, so they're going by the CT leaving Africa, which never was in Africa. Two branches of humans, which is probably Semitic and Japhetic, which is assuming a descendancy rather than a common ancestor. Can we discuss Neanderthals? Yes, we should discuss Neanderthals. And I did. Can we discuss fallen ones without any fight? Can we discuss the origin of man according to science? Very fake. JW, not Jehovah's Witness, that has spread lies against melanin, calling it a curse, will be cornered and found guilty for misleading the entire universe. Okay, a little bit of complaint there. Not necessarily responding to me in every case, but it is on my thread that I started. So So my response is the C paternal haplogroup isn't found in Africa. Oh, here we go. Because the descendants of Nimrod, the son of Cush, went everywhere except Africa. CT shows a common ancestor since Sumerians existed at the same time as Mitzrayim and Cush. Okay, so the response is just study how old these lineages are and come back. We'll discuss Ham and Japheth. Okay, so I say genetic distance isn't a good measure of age. They have Neanderthals as archaic humans, and yet they resemble Eurasians. So that's my response to about Neanderthals. They're more similar to Eurasians than anyone else, especially Asians, because that's more Eurasian than the Western European people that are a mix of Eurasian and Semitic ancestry, which not necessarily Judaic or anything, but Semitic. So, what's your good measure for age, time, and genetics? Black skin. You think all black skin, including Australians and Dravidians, are all Hamites from Africa? Good question. So, let's say actually, South Asians are descended from Nimrod with the C paternal haplogroup and the D paternal haplogroup of the Sinai tribe that went all the way to Sino-China and Japan. Even the Olmecs in America with a C3 are descended from Nimrod, the same as the Polynesians with the C2 haplogroup. Okay, so I guess there's no more response yet. Okay, so we'll go back. And we have, hopefully it gets more interesting. We have another one here. Not that that wasn't interesting, it was, but a little bit tedious sometimes. Yeah, here we go. Obviously, our geology is a direct result of the global flood catastrophe. There was a second global catastrophe when the continents broke apart, when South America, Africa, India, and Australia moved north, shoving North America, Siberia into the Arctic, instantly freezing mammals, lions, bears, and also causing tsunamis, burying multiple ecosystems, which is what the evidence is up in Siberia and the northern parts near the Arctic in America as well. So I got a response here from Long John Liver. Instantly freezing, LOL. Continental drift happens over 100 millions of years. Hundreds of millions. Nothing instant about that. Okay. Towing the narrative, the mainline narrative. So I said, well, just trying to stimulate the thought processes here, which is always the purpose. You can't deny the freezing of the ecosystems or tsunamis. You also can't deny the glacial striations on top of the bedrock in South America, Africa, India, and Australia from where they were connected to Antarctica after the global flood. Antarctica. So he responds with a basic response of yes, places in Arctic areas freezing, tsunamis happening, glaciers slowly move across continents, leaving striations, and at one point all the continents were one big landmass. I never denied any of that happening, just doesn't happen instantly like you said in your OP. All that stuff happens over millions of years. Okay, so denial of the evidence, so I have to try to reinforce the evidence. You don't seem to understand the magnitude of the freeze in the Arctic of the entire forests or the magnitude of the tsunamis throughout the Arctic region, both in North America and Siberia and Northern Europe. They have evidence of tsunamis in Northern Europe. They're scratching their heads trying to figure out what caused it. And of course, if you consider all of the evidence of all of the buried animals and frozen animals that there are in the northern regions, it really can only be explained by the breakup of the continent. Bedrock scarred by glaciers exists because of the global flood that deposited 5+ mega sequences of water deposited sediment layers. You need to understand what the evidence is, okay? So here he is, he's still thinking. Still thinking. Uh-huh. And you don't seem to understand the continental drift happens over hundreds of millions of years. Continents don't drift into Arctic regions in a couple of hours. Instantly freezing lions and bears, well, which is what happened. That's all I was saying. Nice straw man. Well, whether it was hours or what, yeah, it had to have been hours, But the animals aren't going to migrate out of the region unless it's a gradual process. If it's a gradual process, like he's saying, they wouldn't have been quick frozen. The animals would not have been quick frozen. And if it was a gradual process, there would not have been tsunamis burying entire ecosystems and forests and animals and mammoths and mastodons and bears and wolves and lions and reindeer and all of that stuff. Anyways, so the evidence is that we're all descended from 16 ancient civilizations that are from the 16 grandsons of Noah. The evidence is that jaguars were separated from leopards, tapirs were separated from tapirs, greater grisons were separated from the honey badger. All the animals had 100 years to get where they're going before the breakup of the continents, like the Bible actually says the earth was divided in the days of Peleg. Okay, so hopefully this is going to become more interesting. Well, not that it's not interesting, but I want to get to the meat and potatoes here. We have a Mr. Salerno here who responded to me concerning gravity. He has this video up here, this escape velocity of the Milky Way. I don't know if maybe I can just zoom in on this thing. Can I zoom? Maybe I have to zoom in over here. How about I go like this and zoom? Maybe that'll work. There we go. Okay. Latest comments. Oh, here we go. We got another comment. Okay. But it's not working like that. I don't know, something with, maybe it's my computer. Something's not working. I'm gonna have to go back to the other way. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay. Anyways, there's one about time dilation too, but let me get to this other one first. Mr. Salerno, he has this escape velocity of the Milky Way. So I said, gravity is not the same throughout the galaxy, which means the measures of time and distance aren't the same, which means the speed of light isn't the same throughout the galaxy. It's straightforward, right? Simple to understand. And let's see the replies here. Okay. Of course, he's the one who made the video. I'm not sure what kind of education he has or anything, but he is familiar with science. He's making science videos. Escape velocity of the Milky Way. Okay, so you're correct that gravity is not the same throughout the gravity. In fact, is not the same throughout Earth. However, the speed of light is constant, although it could be slower in air than the vacuum of space, which We all know. We all knew that already. So I say, actually, the changes in time and distance compound the changes in the speed of light. So what I did, I tell them to do a thought experiment here. Do this thought experiment. Hold your hands a foot apart, representing 186,000 miles, saying 1001 representing 1 second, while pretending to see an imaginary photon going from one hand to the other. So you hold your hands about a foot apart and say 1001 and pretend to see a photon traveling from one hand to the other in that amount of time, which is 1 second, 1001. Now expand the distance, saying 1001 as fast as you can. And you should notice that the speed of light, or the speed of the imaginary photon, increased the farther away it was from the center of the galaxy. In other words, the farther away it is, the faster time is, and the greater the measures of distance are, which makes the speed faster, as observed by us. So he comes back. It may create a perception. Notice this word here, perception, is used a lot uh, regarding superluminal motion, spiral arms of galaxies, and basic observations in space. It's the perception that the speed of light, or the speed of the imaginary photon, increases as the distance between your hand increases. Yeah, it it seems like the speed of light seems like the photon went faster, but it just really didn't go faster. It just seems like it. Even though your head is going back and forth wildly trying to follow the photon when you stretch your arms out. So, however, this thought experiment does not accurately represent the actual behavior of light in the universe. It is the perception that the speed of light in a vacuum is constant and does not depend on the distance traveled or expansion of space. According to the theory of special relativity, the speed of light in a vacuum is approximately 299 1,792 kilometers per second, or about 186,000 miles a second. This speed is considered a fundamental constant of nature and remains the same regardless of distance or expansion of space. Notice how this is basic generic. It's basic generic response. A scientific generic response to basically everything I said so far. But then it cracked a little bit and said, I do like your thought experiment, though. So basically, what he's saying, it seems like the light is moving faster, but it's not really moving faster. So then I got to go back and I have to say it's the perception that counts. It's the reason for the perceived superluminal motion as well as the motion of spiral arms of galaxies. The perception is the actual speed, and it also means objects in space are closer and not as old according to our rate of time. Okay, now it's getting serious. In special relativity, the speed of light in a vacuum is considered an absolute constant. Yeah, it's a mathematical construct. This means that the speed of light is the same for all observers in a mathematical construct, regardless of their relative motion or presence of gravitational fields. Still a mathematical construct. The perception of superluminal motion, such as apparent faster than light motion in jets emanating from a certain celestial objects, is due to the geometry of the situation rather than the actual speed of light. Oh, again, he's going with a perception it seems like the speed of light is going faster when it's actually not. Is an observational effect caused by the alignment of objects and the angle of observation and relativistic effects, jungle jargon. So they had to, when they published these papers of motion 7 times the speed of light, they had to backtrack and say, oh, it wasn't actually 7 times the speed of light. It's might have seemed that way, but the actual speed was not even the speed of light. So the error in the first publication was extreme, 7 times the speed of light. And then they come back and say it's not even the speed of light. And then they try to explain how that could be, even using the motion of the plasma jet, which you're not supposed to use in special relativity. So here I respond again. I'm not saying that the measured speed of light changes. Mathematically, there's no change. It's the observed speed that changes because the measures aren't constant. Measures change. A yardstick is always supposed to be the same size, but it changes its size in general relativity. Clocks are supposed to run at the same speed, but they change their rate of time in general relativity, and this is observed. This is not theory. This is now an observation because of interferometers that detected the variability of distance on Earth. It's extremely small, but they detected it on Earth. Gravitational waves. So locally, there isn't a noticeable change. The same way the Earth appears flat locally, it's on the larger scale that measurements change. So in other words, the measurements aren't changing noticeably on Earth unless you have extreme equipment to measure the minute changes in the measure of distance from gravitational waves from a neutron star merger or a black hole merger. Then it'll detect very, very, very small changes in the measure of time and distance. So it's on a much larger scale that the speed of light changes, since there is no mass between us and distant galaxies to slow down time or contract distance. Observing another galaxy isn't like observing a squirrel in a yard. So the Earth might appear to be flat locally, but on a larger scale, it's nowhere near flat. It's a sphere. It's round, which is not flat, but it appears to be flat locally. It's the same thing with measures of time and distance. They appear to be constant locally, but they aren't constant locally because we have detected it, and they're not even considering it or even talking about it in their explanations of superluminal motion or anything like that. So we can go back. Let me respond to this other one over here that I had. Oh, okay. Not smart. Okay, this is another. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? So I said, am I smarter than everyone else? Why can't anyone see that differing rates of time and differing measures of different distance change the speed of light? Why am I the only one able to see that? Okay, Mr. Dino, this is his first response 14 minutes ago or thereabouts. Not smart. Time dilation and length contraction are results of the speed of light being constant. What? You need to watch a few more videos about special relativity, and I'm not talking about special relativity. I'm talking about general relativity. So that's what I'm going to have to say. I'm not talking about special relativity. I'm talking about general relativity. So he says which is a contradiction. Time dilation and length contraction are results of the speed of light being constant. Well, the speed of light is said to be constant without factoring in the dilation of time and distance. Okay, so let me respond. I'm referring referring to general relativity, if I can get the spelling right. Okay, referring to general relativity, and the speed of light. Speed of light, it says, let's see, gravity, let me see, gravity is gravity is what alters the measures of time and distance, which in turn are which alters our perception of the speed of light. And all in actuality, it's changing the speed of light. It's altering the speed of light as we perceive it, because light being constant is a mathematical construct only. Okay. Light speed being constant is a mathematical construct only. All right, that's about it. Just wanted to show a few of the responses. Been a productive day, I would say. It's been very productive. Here we have another one. This is about the genetic haplogroups again. Uh, so what's a good measure of genetic distance? Okay, what did I get here? So I read my response earlier. Okay, so let's see what she has to say in response to what I said. So you can trace all the descendants of Cush, but not ancient Egyptians, their brother. But I didn't say anything about the ancient Egyptians. You can trace all the descendants of Cush, but not I didn't say I couldn't trace the descendants of Egypt or Mitzrayim. If what you have mentioned are Cushites, then how are they linguistically, genetically speaking, related to anyone in modern day Africa? It's not going to be. They're not going to be linguistically the same as people in Africa, especially when they never went to Africa. Remember, the Caucasian guy on YouTube presentation has clearly portrayed all Africans as descendant of Ham without any information. He's based on color and hatred Africa by the albinos. Well, is that this video we're talking about? No. Well, I don't know what video is being referred to here. Marigold. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So The reason why they have no, okay, gotta explain every detail again because I already said that they never went to Africa, but uh, um, okay, so the majority of them never went to Africa. That's why they don't speak African languages. Just sometimes you just have to explain the obvious. Okay, the Caucasian guy on YouTube presented a presentation has clearly portrayed all Africans as descendants of Ham without any information. He's just based his argument based on color. Hatred for Africa by the albinos, albinos. So I guess it was supposed to be albinos. So let me see another paragraph. I don't know what YouTube, what video is being referred to. Let's see. Just arguments based on color hatred. Well, uh, let's say most even if people don't have a haplogroup that's African, they can still be descended from Mitzrayim. Oh, the first thing was Mitzrayim. Yeah. Oh, I gotta respond about Mitzrayim. Okay, so you can trace all the descendants of Cush, but not the ancient Egyptian brother. Okay, I'll say the Egyptians have the paternal E3 haplogroup. Canaanite descendants have the E2 and D. Yeah. Okay, they got the E2 and E3. I mean E2 and D, and put as the E1 up. Hopefully, I don't have to go into too much detail. So let's see what else we got. The racism of the thing. Okay. Um. Uh. Most Africans would be descended from uh most one way or another Uh, Autosomal DNA, let's see, however, the Southern European R1B. Uh, see the J, I'll just say the J haplogroup. Okay, so you got the R1B and the J haplogroup in North Africa. Should be North Africa here. Okay, so hopefully that addresses everything. A lot of people have, you know, they're sensitive about this topic because of, well, usually because of having been hurt in the past, they still feel hurt, and whether it's self-induced or not, a lot of even Native Americans are sensitive about this topic, so much so that they often don't want to test their DNA. But it's by way of the testing of DNA that you can find out what the truth is. And this is why I study it, is because the truth helps people to understand what's going on and what happened. So, um, a lot of people don't know, I didn't know myself, that Africa had many, some of the ancient civilizations were very, very large, prosperous, wealthy civilizations in Africa. And I guess maybe suppose through corruption and everything that it kind of fell apart, like as in many other every other ancient civilization, it falls apart because of corruption and stuff. But they did have huge, huge civilizations, very prosperous, very wealthy, with gold and everything. It's not a made up story. It's a part of African history that a lot of people don't even know. So there's really no reason to feel inferior uh, if a person is African or has African ancestry. It's we are who we are, and we're here because of who we are. That's how we got here, and we should be thankful and grateful for being here, being a part of the the world's population. And I think it's an amazing thing, really. And just to see where the C and the D went to, you can see the effects in the people themselves. It's the same thing when I grew up on the Amazon River. You could see in the faces of the people the indigenous features. The Native American, Native South American features in the population, in the people living along the banks of the Amazon River where I lived. So it's the same thing. Every region, every group has their own features that can be described. They're described one way or another. The shape of the head, the chin, the eyebrows, everything is all the result of our genetics, because we are what we are because of the information, the genetic information that we have to make us the humans that we are. And of course, we are variations of all from Noah and Adam. And of course, there was more variety before the global flood, where there were more variations before the global flood, of course, which were mostly destroyed. Everyone was destroyed except for the family of Noah, which is his 3 sons and their 3 wives, which account for all the variation in the world today. And I think it's an amazing thing. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of, regardless of who you are. So that would be my response there, I guess. Make sure I respond. Actually, I get carried away talking, I forget what I'm doing. Okay. So I guess that's about it for right now. It's been a profitable day. Okay, so I guess I pretty much responded to everybody right now. Oh, this is Mr. Dino. Oh, did I respond to this? I guess I did. Yeah, I did. Okay, this is a guy that was talking about special relativity, which is a common mistake people make. They think I'm talking about special relativity when I'm talking about general relativity. But then you have to know the difference. Special relativity is because of speed, general relativity is because of gravity. And you have to take into account both of them, because they're both very similar. They have similar effects, but they're not exactly the same. Especially since we don't exist at the speed of light. And special relativity is basically things existing at the speed of light or being affected by speed. The faster you go, the more effect it has. And which, is a combination of the two. It'd be kind of complicated to try to figure it out exactly, and people disagree as to how that's supposed to work out anyway. But anyways, I guess that's good enough for right now. Let me see what we got here. We got Doki, Christian Carpenter. Who are you conversating with? I missed it. Hey, Jungle Jeremy. Hey, Bobby. Good to see you. Well, I was basically just making responses to different responses I get to my comments that I make. And so it was, at least today was a good day. Today was a very useful, profitable day as far as the responses go, because sometimes I don't get a whole lot of responses, but I like to be able to make statements and see how people react to them and try to explain to them, because the educational system is so bad. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible how people are misled, and it's just, I mean, people are like sheep to begin with, right? And they'll believe anything, almost anything somebody tells them, unless they have good reason not to believe it. But then a lot of people are missing that good reason not to believe all these, crazy ideas or whatever, because that's what they're fed in school. That's what they're told in school. So that's what they believe. That's what they follow. So it's we have an uphill battle trying to give people the right information, the evidence, the actual evidence, like what Donnie has been trying to explain to the skeptics, is that you have to go by the evidence, not what people think about the evidence. Simple. And you have to be able to tell the difference between what people think about it and what the evidence actually is. So, but I guess that's good enough for right now. God bless everybody. Take care and stay close to the truth. And the Word of God is true. Absolutely true. As we've noted many times before. So God bless everybody. Take care.